welcome. I was expecting
different crowd.
Different crowd. Yeah. So yeah. Well, before we start the questions, I guess one thing that I would say for me is, which I think probably we all know, is how it's very important always to remember with Sikhism that it's only a religion, like Yogi Bhajan says, for practical purpose of a word. Really, it's more about your inner Dharma and your inner connection with the Guru. And I always find I'm always very attracted to its non-dualistic aspect, but yet how it connects from that full non-dualism. Like when you say ekonkar, then it's like, okay, class is done, we know everything. But then it's like, yeah, but if you read a lot of the non-dualistic yogic scriptures, they always say, never mix non-dualism where it should be dualism. In other words, you hear people like, well, you shouldn't be doing that drug. Everything is God. Well, no, in the world of duality, there's karma, there's actions and reactions. And so I really love that it covers everything from the non-dualistic side of where, like this Shabbat we were repeating, no? Like water merging in water, everything is one. To the, yeah, but have everything aligned from the ground up so that there's coherence at every level. So I think that's one of my favorite parts of Sikhism. And then there's a practical way of reaching it, not just a philosophical way of reaching it.
Something I've been contemplating. So the Shabbat, tu janahi, sohi jan jane. So only those who you allow to know you can know you. Because obviously there's been a lot of tumult and upset, and people moved away and walked away or stepped away. It's just stepped away, just taking a step back. They'll come back. I truly believe, if not in this life, everyone will get a chance again. It's okay. We don't have to. It's not a race. Everyone will get there. Everyone will be blessed. Everyone is loved. Yes, it's sad, on a personal level. But if we take a step back and the Guru's doing what they're doing, and if the Guru wills it, then we can understand the Guru. But if the Guru doesn't will it, that can't happen. So back to that prayer. Mm-hmm. What is that one prayer? For me, at this moment in time, it keeps evolving, right? But let me get to know you. That's my prayer at this moment in time. If I come up with a more advanced one, I'll text everybody. But that's me in this moment, especially given everything that's going on, is how do I know that I'm...
And actually, San, I don't have a question. It's something you said. I have this sentence that I really love. You are you're perfectly imperfect and imperfectly perfect. So everything is just perfect in this moment, and we live now, and we go through what we have to go through. Just something you said.
Yeah.
I always repeat that.
Satnam, please come in.
So, Jujhar, you said, I just want to get to know you more. I want to know your will, right? Is that what you said? I don't want to...
Well, it's in that... It's more that some people have stepped away, and that hurts, because they're my family, and I'm their family. But at the same time, I don't have any control over that. We don't have any control over that, ultimately. It's only the Guru that has that control. And it's learning when to give up control. Because we're here, okay, we're talking about Sikh, so we're trying to further the mission in some way, or further each other in some way. We're sharing and caring. But the Guru is allowing this to happen. If you look at...
But my question is, who is the Guru?
Who is the Guru? Or just go back to...
Or what is
okay. So, and that could be answered in so many different ways, and you know that. So yeah, okay, that's okay. I have an obsession with Shabad the Guru. I always have since I was a child. Like Guru Granth Sahib Ji being a guru made total sense to me, and I know some people, and I find it hard to believe that people struggle with that. Like I don't believe that people struggle with that, because I've been blessed with that intuitive kind of relationship with Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So for me, it's very simple. Guru Granth Sahib, Shabad is the guru.
So what is Shabad?
Yes, and this is where I start to get more liberal with my interpretation of Shabad, because you've got Shabad in Gurbani form. Then there's Anhad Shabad, unstruck Shabad. Then there's Shabad in other dimensions, and that can come in, it's unstruck, right? So who knows what that sounds like. Then there's, and I've heard this from several saints, there's Gurbani that's not been revealed to us, that gets revealed to you when you reach a certain level of understanding. And then there's Bani beyond Gurbani. So it's infinite. Gurbani itself becomes infinite. It's happened to me so many times, and it's anecdotal, but we've had Guru Granth Sahib Ji in our house for 17 years now, I think. Very, very fortunate. So we get to take Hukamnama twice a day, do Guru Seva twice a day. And I'm telling you, there's new Hukamnamas just pop up out of nowhere. If you think, I've been doing this twice a day and reading all this Bani for all these years, and there's still new Gurbani just popping up. Guru is alive and it's ever changing. Sahib mera nit nawa. My master is new to me every day. Every day is new to me. So there's a kind of, and as someone who gets bored very easily with things, I'm still not bored of Sikhi, and I'm still not bored of the Guru. Maybe one day. I hope not. I hope never. I hope at the moment I'm bored of the Guru, then what's the point of existence? I cease to exist. But back to then there's this other interpretation of what is Gurbani. The vibration in each and every cell, in each and every person, in each and every thought. And so you can have a more liberal understanding of, a wider understanding of Gurbani as well. So you can have a very obvious understanding of what Gurbani is. But then Gurbani itself being infinite, by definition, Agam Agad Bol. There's so many different forms of Gurbani in that sense. So I think that helps us to encompass a wider interpretation. And it's like the Siri Singh Sahib said, that's why I picked that lecture today. It's all about building bridges, seeing God in everyone, seeing God in all, in everything, getting to that level where you see the Guru everywhere. Mm-hmm. And everywhere you turn is the Guru. Even in your enemy, or who you think enemies are. That we can see past that, we can forgive, we can move past, and we can build bridges.
Mm-hmm. Can we, before you ask your question, is it a follow-up to that? Or?
Not yet. I would like to welcome yourself. So, because I think everyone else of us knows each other here, which may put you on the spot.
Maybe a little
too much, yeah.
I'd like to make sure that you're getting out of this conversation about anything you want to know about Sikh Dharma, but we're here to ask.
Satnam, my name is Ad Sach Kaur.
Ad Sach.
Where are you from?
I'm from Missouri originally, and I came here from Arizona.
Is it hot at the moment?
Do you have anything that you would like to ask to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
All is good, all is well.
So, and with what they were just saying, because you popped halfway through, very nutshell type. They were pondering about what is the Guru, because we always talk about the Guru, right, in Sikhism. Now, of course, there's the 10 Gurus, but there's really something much more subtle than that, right? And that's what he was trying to say, and it's the Guru within you. What is it for Sikhism? Because often when you say, oh yeah, my Guru told me to do this, well, in Sikhism, we do connect to the Guru within, and that deep Guru through the Siri Guru Granth, which is our scriptures. But really, it's all about that deep Guru within, and we connect to it through the sound current too. By repeating the sound current, we go from darkness to light, right? So, very nutshell type of thing. That's what they were discussing when you arrived.
So
philosophical.
Even with that concept of, and a lot of people do this, and it's not incorrect. But I just want to challenge. We talk about the 10 gurus. it's 11 gurus. We had 10 human gurus, and then Guru Granth Sahib Ji. This is still the age of the guru. So we had the 10 human gurus, and they were human, and as infinite as a human can be. But now, Guru Gobind Singh Ji left us with Shabad Guru. I spend a lot of time with Namtaris. Is anyone familiar with the Namtari Panth? So they've carried on this lineage of human gurus since Guru Gobind Singh. So I spend a lot of time with them because I learn music from them, and they're incredibly gifted. And I remember their guru came to Birmingham, and they asked me to do the sound, to help out, sort the sound system out. So they did Asa Divar at 3 o'clock in the morning. Started at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then the guru walked in about 20 minutes later. And I get to sit right at the front because I'm with the mixing desk, right? And all these other Namtaris, been devoted for generations, they have to sit further back. And here's me, just kind of and I get to sit right at the front, and so some of these people would give their lives to just sit where I was sitting. That's the level of devotion. It's incredible. And I'd sit there, and obviously I'm a bit uncomfortable with the concept of a human guru, of a Shabad guru. But even though they have these human gurus, they still have Shabad Guru. Shabad Guru is the most important thing for them. So when their human guru is sitting in Prakash, Guru Granth Sahib Ji won't be in Prakash. So if Guru Granth Sahib Ji is Prakash, their guru will sit to the side. And so when Guru Granth Sahib Ji is in Sukhasan, that's when their guru will come out. So even a lineage that still has human gurus still puts Shabad. And their Gurbani is the best in the world. It's so good that the Nihangs, the Taksalis who's supposed to have this lineage from Guru Gobind Singh Ji's, they put them to shame. They're so strict on their guru. They were doing Asa Divar, so their guru is a beautiful thing. I could see why people are attracted to this. Their guru was sitting there, reading. First he sat with the mullah, and him and his. So the Asa Divar is going on this side, and then because they do Asa Divar every day. They have 7 banis in their Nitnem. They have Jabri Sahib, Jab Sahib, Anand Sahib, Gurprasad Kaur Khalsa, Chaupe Sahib, Chandi Divar, and Asa Divar every day, right? So their Nitnem is another level. And they're sitting, and then they did a mala. I don't know what they're doing on the mala. And then they pulled out a gutka and started doing, and everyone pulled out the gutka at the same time. This is just beautiful to watch. And then they're reading, and the Asa Divar is still carrying on. And he's there, and he's looking over there somewhere, something else is going on. And then they made a mistake. They said one word slightly wrong. And he stopped, he corrected them, stopped the Kirtan, corrected them, and then carried on with this thing over there and went back to his Gurbani. The level of excellence they have for Gurbani, just from a Kirtan and from a reading perspective. Even Nihang Singhs go to them to learn Gurbani. And we all go to them now to learn Kirtan, because they've preserved that tradition. But I suppose the thing I want to say is that even in that tradition, they don't believe in Guru Granth Sahib Ji as Guru, but they believe in Gurbani as Guru. So it's different, but that core concept.
And by the way, Yogi Bhajan actually said, well, it's not 11 gurus, it's 13 gurus.
Oh yes, yeah, which is really interesting.
So in the progression of Sikhism, first there was the Shabad Guru, which is unmanifested. It's just the sound current.
Shabad literally means word.
Yeah. Yeah.
When Guru Nanak Dev Ji was challenged by the yogis.
In the Bible there's, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, no? It's that same essence where it's vibration, no? It's this, and in the most gross level, it's spoken speech, but really in the most subtle levels, it's more like that, they call it the unsung sound current, which is, you can't really hear it unless you're in this deep state. And so that was the first Guru. And then from there, Guru Nanak was the first to channelize it in the Sikh path. And then it went through all the different Gurus, and then Guru Gobind Rai was the 10th Guru. He followed in that tradition, but Guru Gobind Rai, I don't know how much do you know about Sikhs? Yeah, the 11th, yeah. I don't know how much you know about Sikh history, but, but so it was at a time where the Mughal Empire, I don't know how much you know about that history, that there was a lot of fighting between different religions and different people, but also a lot of imbalance socially, with the caste system, with some people being considered less than human. So the gurus were always standing, they were also social activists. They were not only, they spoke spiritual truth, but then they're like, yeah, let's relate it to the earth and really try to help the earth. And that's why they had, at one point, they created Miri and Piri, that we're the heavenly realm, but we also have mastery over the earth realm. And both of those need to be addressed. So, it was a path not for renunciates. And a lot of Sikhs really think, oh, renunciates, that's not the way at all. And I really don't think that the gurus were against it. It was just not the way they taught. They're like, no, you don't need to be a renunciate to be enlightened. You can be a householder, you can have a job, and in fact, that'll create such a deep change in the world, because you're as the nucleus of a family and a business that is conscious will spread in a different way than only praying for the world. So at one point they became so controversial that they gained the negative attention of the Mughal Empire. And to make a very long story short, the 10th guru, after his father was killed by the Mughals, he voluntarily went, though it wasn't like they captured him. He knew he was going to die, and he left his son as guru. And he did it to save some Hindu saints from Kashmir, because the Mughal emperor had told him, if you do not convert to Islam, I'm going to kill you guys, and not just you, your whole village. So the guru said, well, they came to him, and he said, if you really want to escape in a way where no one gets hurt, like the best possible scenario is a saint needs to be willing to be sacrificed. So find a saint who is willing to be sacrificed. And eventually they went through all of Kashmir and all of the regions where they couldn't find a single person willing to be sacrificed. So they came back to the guru. And as they were telling him, we just can't find anybody, the guru's son was there. And then he's like, well, did you ask my father? And the father said, no, they haven't asked me. So
he was 9, right?
Yeah, he was 9 years old.
9 years old.
So then they said, well, would you be willing to do this? And he's like, yeah, don't worry, you'll be saved. So he told the Emperor Aurangzeb, who was the most...
no, he's the Emperor of India.
Yeah, but of all the Mughals, he was the most...
he's Wahhabi, so he believed in the house of Al-Wahhab.
Kind of like the more hardliner of...
Bin Laden's... Yeah, Akbar, but they were more Sufi oriented. So Aurangzeb's interesting because he follows the house of Al-Wahhab, which is sort of a 16th century Islamic sect, very, very strict. But that's now the Saudi family.
But the point is,
So Bin Laden was Wahhabi. So this kind of
Saudi
Arabia was Wahhabi.
He told the emperor. He said, "Look, give me your word that you'll spare this town, and I will submit myself to you. And if you convert me, not only one town, the whole region will convert." So the emperor gave him his word and said, "Okay, come." And he knew he was going to die. There was no fooling in that. So he put his son as guru, because he asked that question. That was a sign that he was mature enough and ready for it. And, it's a long story, but eventually it came to the point where the emperor said, well, do a miracle in front of me and I'll save you. And the guru was like, you don't just do that. If the power of God comes through you, it's to serve humanity, not just to save yourself. And I'm not just cowardly, like I'm not afraid of death. I'm not just going to do something like that to save my own life like this. So then they actually cut his head off and found a paper in his throat that said, what bigger miracle than even when you're facing death, you stand with integrity to the last moment. And so his son, and Guru Gobind Singh, he said, okay, at this point we really need to fight back. We've exhausted all of the other avenues that we can, and he always said, you first try every single way to prevent battle. But once battle is inevitable and once everything else has been exhausted, and it's still going to affect people that are holy, people that are innocent, people that are weak, then it is Dharma to take on a sword. So then he created the path of the spiritual warrior, and then eventually he created the Khalsa. Now this is a very interesting point in Sikhism, because the Guru, first he gave, I'm really cutting the story short. he gave Amrit, you'll hear about that. He gave It's this vow to basically become as pure as you can and to live a certain way. It's kind of like the monk vow with Sikhs, except it's not really monks because we're householders. But you can consider it that, like, you vow to fully live a life of purity, to defend others, to follow the Guru's teachings as your whole lifestyle. And he gave that to 5 people. And to their surprise, once they were part of that, he's like, this is a new society that is very important for the world. And I would be honored to be part of it. So please, you're initiated. I am not. So he asked them to initiate him. So at that moment, the Guru also became the disciple. And he became Guru Gobind Singh. So that's the 13th Guru. 12th, sorry, thank you, 12th. And Guru Gobind Rai was the 10th, the 11th Guru.
And then reborn as
Guru Gobind Singh, with a humility where even the Guru is part of the Panth.
So you're counting those as
Yogi Ji did.
Yogi Ji counted. And then eventually, Guru Gobind Singh himself saw that people were focusing too much on him rather than the teachings. No, like it's the classic that you look at the hand pointing at God rather than at God. So he said, okay, really, it's our teachings that is the Guru, and it's it's the Shabad. So then there was already some form of compilation, but he completed that compilation of all the teachings. And he said, instead of worshipping me, you need to worship this Granth, meaning these teachings. And we don't relate to it as a book, even though it's bound like a book. We say, for us, it's a Guru. And he said, if you relate to it as a book, that's all it will be to you. But if you relate to it as a Guru, and you really treat it with deep devotion, it's etherically, it's going to act as your Guru, and the Guru will pull through. So we went from the completely unmanifested sound anahat to the same thing, but in gross physical manifestation. Crystallized way. For everybody, which is important for everybody to access, not just those who are either super enlightened or who were born into castes and that are higher and are taught the secret teachings, etc., etc., etc.
So to make it more accessible. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I find it always not challenging, but sometimes it's confusing, and I feel like we need to talk more about that. That, okay, for me, like when I read the Guru, they'll use the word Guru as the Guru, living Guru, or past living Guru. And then it talks about the Guru, but the Guru is God. And I see, like, all the Gurus from Guru Nanak, they were one with the Creator. And so there's no separation. And in that also, to me, it's like, I go like, okay, how do I bring it to me or, to everybody? It's like, that's what we're here to become that one with the Guru. But I find, sometimes I wonder whether people actually really understand when they're reciting a Shabad or reading from the Guru. It's like, okay, which Guru are they talking about? And sometimes it's confusing.
I've got three bits of supporting information that hopefully help you with, but also just to validate your intuition as well. So first one is Gur Gobind Guru hai, Nanak Ped na pai. So the Guru is Gobind and Gobind is the Guru. The Creator is Guru. The Nanak Ped, Nanak can't see the difference between them. Right? So they're one and the same. And then in support of that is Harjan, Har, and the beloved of Har, the student, the sevak, Doi ek hai. So the two of them have become one. Bib bichar kichna, you can't separate the two of them because they merge into one. So when you get to that level, then you've just merged into the continuum. And yes, we because we're humans and we've got brains, we need to be able to relate to that. But once you get past that, then it's just a continuum. And you worship one as part of it, and you end up worshipping all of it. And then the third one, it's a funny one, is that when I first got into Sikhi, I was 19. I used to be a part-time Singh before that. So part-time Singh, trim beard and clubs and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I was 19 when the Guru grabbed me and took me into his embrace, or her embrace. And I always used to say, like, Jan Kahe, you know, Nanak says this, Nanak says that, and Nanak is this. And I always used to think, this isn't fair. I'm reading the Gurbani and Guru Nanak Dev Ji's taking all the credit. You know, why is he inserting himself? Like, he should, you know, should I replace my name? So stupid. Should I replace my name there so I become the subject? You know, right? It's so dumb. Like now. But the thing is that point.
It's a great question, though.
At that point, you become Nanak. You're invoking Nanak. And har jando ek hai bibichar kichnai, you become part of Nanak. Like Guru Gobind Singh Ji made us part of himself. And we become part of that at that point in time. You're invoking Nanak. And so the purer your invocation, the more like Nanak you become. And if you look at nearly all the Gurus, they are Jan Kehe Nanak, they're always invoking the first Guru all the time. Guru Nanak being the first.
And you know, there's a yogic aspect to that with the Naad, because you know, the Gurus were in a state of enlightenment, wanting to express something to help people. And then they as we said, they put it down in a, you know, they wrote it. But then when you're reciting it, that vibration is turning you to that same consciousness that they had. And when you only think like dually, it's like, well, no, I'm not Nanak. But when you think non-dually, where everything is one, you're vibrating at that same level.
You become Nanak.
So why are you not? Yeah, it's like, you are.
You don't want to become Nanak because of what that means and what you have to, you know, for you and you know.
Also, to me, like the Shabad, I always say, you know, it flows through all of us. And we have to remember that because we are connected to the divine, that we have a really strong role with our own Shabad, like our own word, that it has to be divine, you know? And we have to, like, and that's also how we become maybe more divine, is by be careful what we say, how we speak, you know, how we act. But yeah, the word, that's so important. Anyway.
It's both, so that you reading the Gurbani and tuning with that will purify your speech, and at the same time you purifying your speech will help you. So you kind of need to do both hand in hand. You know, and it starts with being honest with yourself and in your speech, and then talk about sweet speech, and that inevitably will come out of you anyway if you're engaging with the process. The process will do that to you, but at the same time, if you can apply a little modicum of some decorum while you speak and some control of your mind, so abek-bud, so it's like that active control and that active discipline, and then the rest will flow through your meditation. It's one of the things I love so much about Western Sikh Dharma is often the narrative is, oh, become a Sikh, take Amrit, you know, and then all will be fine. And it works, and I've seen it work, and I no doubt it works. What I like about this process is, it's like turban, don't worry about it. Just turn up at 3:40 in the morning, let's meditate, and let's see where that takes you. So starting with the spiritual practice first, starting with the internal first, purifying that process. Whereas what I find a lot of not always, right, but it can be start with the external, then ends up inward anyway, which is great, so that works. But I really like, it's nice to experience this aspect of it is, oh, let's focus on cultivating this and see what comes out, you know.
I like the relationship between the form and the formless. Like, you know, which one do we focus on, and how do they, you know, intertwine and become one? Because we are in a form, you know, and we want to honor that form with our projection, and yet, but, you know, the most common question I get whenever I'm in a crowd, you know, do you have to wear that thing on your head? You know, that kind of, you know, that kind of thing. And it's like, I always wanted to, can we get beyond that? But that's what everybody wants to know. Well, you know, gee, I love but then that means I have to wear a turban. I have to do all these things, and like, so how do we merge those two? Like, how do we represent?
I think what Jujhar said is at the core of it, where the Siri Singh Sab's understanding of it, which I think is very true to Guru Nanak and to all the Gurus, is You go through the experience, and the spiritual experience is paramount. Forget about, like, everything else is more, you're aligning with that, but it doesn't...
Right, but what are the tools that help us to have that experience?
Well, that's what I mean. You align with, but if you just, for instance, in a Amrit ceremony, you follow the 5 Ks, and you'll never break your vows, yet you can be a mass murderer, or you can be a really horrible human being.
So,
so really, what really does it mean to be Khalsa? It doesn't mean just to wear these things. It's more about the internal. You know, for every external thing, there's something internal, and which is infinitely more important. Except you, for instance, like, you know, I have a lot of students who, it's like they live 2 lives. Somebody asked Yogi Bhajan this, and I see this a lot. They're like, well, I mean, I used to be part of Swami Sachidananda's group, she said, and we used to wear white, and we used to do all these things, but when we would go, and we lived at an ashram, but we would go out to town, we would dress like normal people, like, why do you want to stand out? And Yogi Ji said, well, here's the thing, we do not live 2 lives. Everything in us is coherent at every single level. We do not pretend this and then not, you know, it's like, that's who we are. And, you know, I don't think it's the only way of doing it. There's many ways of reaching this coherence in your life, but our way is, you know, you from the inside, and then you let it shine in every single direction without making exceptions in it. You know?
It does work in reverse. I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
It does work in reverse, but I would say,
well, it's a dance.
Well, because it gives you the experience. It's not an empty ritual. Like everything, the 5, all of the things that Sikhs have, like, you know, even just wearing a kara, you can say, well, it's a reminder that you're a slave to God, but to no one else. Like, you know, it's this fierce warrior where it's like, I will follow my guru's hukam. But on the other hand, it's really balancing the air element and making you not spaced out in your aura. Your hair, it really is an antenna. It's not just about, like, well, we were made in God's image, so therefore you... No, well, of course, but it's more like, well, there's a technology to it. And, you know, bald monks, that works too. It's a different path. It's just a very different avenue. And I find that in the Sikh path, it's all about everything is God, accept all as God. Whereas, like, for instance, a monk, it's more like, let me renounce everything. And we're more like, well, when everything is God, let's include everything, yet do it in a way where you are in that godly state. If you're, you know, food can be a very godly experience, or it can make you feel horrible and lower your consciousness, etc., etc. So, in that everything.
Yeah, I just, as a reminder, like he was saying, like, what was his name from Basics of Sikhi?
Jagraj Singh. Yeah,
Jagraj Singh.
Yeah.
All he did Vaheguru, and it changed his life.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure, and everything he shared was phenomenal, and he wasn't.
You know, he was
like
we came into Sikhi together, and I saw him in the space of 1 week. We were at a camp together. We were both conned into it. Like, I thought I was going to a martial arts camp, and it turns out to be a Sikhi camp. And he thought, I think it was an extent. He just rocked because he was doing politics and philosophy. So I think he was just like getting extra points or something for his course. So both of us had no intention of this hardcore Sikhi stuff. All these hardcore. That's not our kind of thing. We do enough. We go on a Sunday. It's all right, isn't it? And to my, you know, I never used to go to the club without doing my reras first. And I'd always make my friends wait because don't feel right if I don't do my reras in the evening, you know. But so I always had this connection to Guru, but I never had a lived experience of it, you know, in terms of the lifestyle. And just turned up at this camp, and there's all these other Sikhs, like, you know, with turbans and beards, and oh my God, and getting up early and doing seva and things, and both of us, it had that effect on us. And like sitting down for the first time and doing Vaheguru. We'd never done that before. And in the space of a week, we both ended up, I remember. Gosh, he was a nutter, he was, Jagraj.
Well, the only thing that comes to my mind is one ladies' camp. Well, of course, this kind of relates to how to explain Sikhi to an atheist. And I did Google that atheists are drawn to Sikhi because it puts all the responsibility on the individual, and we don't blame anybody for anything or expect anybody to save us. So usually atheists are drawn to that because, they don't say there's a God, but they feel it inside, I think.
They're committed to not.
Yeah.
They're much more closer to God than agnostic.
So anyways, our daughter married somebody who professed to be an atheist, but he's like the nicest person, really, really nice person. And how I relate to him, first I thought he was the devil and she should never marry him. Honestly, it was kind of like a recurring joke to myself, like, oh no, not him. But he really won me over. But then we had to communicate about God. So I would just substitute, well, what don't you understand in life? And because that's God. Everything we don't know, the unknown, the unconscious is God. And that comes from that ladies' camp. When he was talking about Anand Sahib, and he said you can substitute unconscious or unknown for God, conscious for Guru, and subconscious for mind. And so that's kind of wordy if you're reading the whole thing in English, and you have to say unconscious gives me this understanding of the consciousness, and it enters into my subconscious, and it's like blah, blah, blah. But it ended up being very, very useful with this person who will not relate to God or religion, because we have an understanding that there's something we don't know, and there's something that's unknown, and all that really matters is if we're afraid of it, or if we, get something good out of it. So we kind of play around with that.
But how much better is that atheist than I always think about, you said that this atheist was one of the nicest people you knew. And I think, how evolved is that person's consciousness? I've got a perfect guru, yet I still behave like a jerk. Right? Maybe it's a bit arrogant of me to say, but I think my guru is perfect. And I have all the teachings, everything available to me, yet I'm still a jerk. Right? And yet we have someone who doesn't have access to the same gifts that I've been given.
Yeah.
And they're an amazing person. So that person is automatically better than I am. In many ways, in many forms. That's when I see people that don't have.
It's interesting. I've met some atheists that, and as you said, some of them are even more spiritual than people who are religious. In fact, two of my best friends. One, she comes to Solstice. She probably won't come because she's very sickly, and I don't know if she'll recover. But she's kind of an atheist, but she vows to the Guru all the time, like you said. She's really drawn to the Guru all the way, and she's very spiritual. She just hates the word God, but she understands transcendence and everything. She just doesn't like the old way, like the traditional. In Mexico, we had this typical Catholic way where there was a white man in a beard who dictated, and there's sins, and there's this, and there's that. So that's why that's what made her an atheist. But really, she's super spiritual, and at that level, it doesn't really matter what you believe anyway. That's the Sikh way. And then there's my other best friend this lady's a lot older than me, but we lived in the ashram together. But my best friend from Mexico, he's not a Sikh, he really likes our path, but he's just a regular business guy. And his wife is an atheist, and they wanted me to marry them. And so I was talking to them, well, like, what would you like? She's like, I just do not want anything having to do with God. So I just did the Lavan in Gurmukhi, but then when I did the English, similar to what you're saying, it's like, it's such a universal thing it can be taken so out of context and made into this very strict thing when you don't understand it. But in its depth, it's exactly what you're saying. So she loved it. She even said, it's the best wedding I've ever seen. Thank you so much. And it was just a Lavan.
They're not going to lose points by not calling the Guru. But if there's something there for Guru is for everyone. I'm really drawn to Islam. So I've been reading about Guru Nanak Dev Ji's travels around that area. And it's very, Guru Nanak is serving Muslims with the teachings. Like, Guru is for everyone, atheist, Muslim, Christian, like, be the best Jew you can be. And this is what Guru says in support of that, right? So there's stuff here for you. You don't have to be a Sikh to love the Guru. Remember, I went to Punjab Sahib in Pakistan, and it was, where Guru Nanak Dev Ji stopped the boulder. You familiar with that story? I can tell at the end if you want. But And I knock on the door at 5 a.m. And this Muslim gentleman came with tea. So they have like rooms outside the Gurdwara that you can stay at if you're visiting the Gurdwara, because it's out in the boonies, like, you know, to get there. And he said, and we were just talking to him, and he's just saying, I go in there's a mosque across the road. I go in the morning, I do my morning namaz, and then I come do seva here. And I've been doing that for 20, 30 years.
Is that a famous guy? Is he famous, or is he just
No. Well, if you go to Punjab Sahib, if you go to that Gurdwara, hopefully you get to meet him. But you know, it's to him it was perfectly natural. And there's villages now I've been reading about in Iraq where they still believe in Guru Nanak. They call him Hind Ka Peer. But there's no conflict with their Islam. There's zero conflict. Yeah, Nanak Shah Fakir, but there's no conflict with their Islam and their devotion to Allah.
That's in the true essence. So then contrast that with the story of when he goes to Mecca.
Oh, I could tell you this. I've got the inside story about Mecca.
We're so traumatized by religion. You know, so many of us, because of the do's and the don'ts, and that you have to go and all that stuff. So people,
the extrinsic morality, right?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Whereas it was meant to be intrinsic, right?
Of course.
Right. It's meant to be Nanak Hukum Nanak Likhya Naal, right? In Japji Sahib, the Hukum is Hukum Rajai Chalna Nanak Likhya Naal. It's written within you. Yeah. Right, your intuition, you've got to tune into that.
We're so trained to something outside ourselves.
And this is the Judeo-Christian perspective. Yeah.
Right, it's that whole...
So I've also been reading about the Gnostic Gospels, but we'll come back to that, right? It's about Jesus. I also love Jesus too. Jesus is why I became a Sikh. I'll tell you that story at the end, right? If it wasn't for Jesus, I wouldn't...
My first teacher too.
If it wasn't for Jesus, I wouldn't be a Sikh.
I wouldn't either.
So, you know, and there's no conflict there. No, I love Jesus. Anyway, sorry. What was I saying?
We can tell the
Mecca.
I get emotional. I'm going to tell the Mecca story.
Yeah.
Was I going to tell that one?
Yes.
No, there was something else I was saying in between. That's what I was going to go to. And I was talking to somebody else about this today. Is the translations, or the irony of it, that we're reading of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, that we're reading, are from the Singh Sabha movement. In the 1900s. Now, if you're not familiar, the short version of the Singh Sabha movement, there was an existential threat to Sikhi. Hindus were attacking, Christians were attacking, and there was this kind of traumatic period for the Sikhs at the time. The British were going all in. And so the Singh Sabha movement, one of the first things they do is they create Sikhism. He mentioned it a couple of times. It never used to exist, that word. And they create a very hard definition, an extrinsic definition of what a Sikh is and what the do's and don'ts are. And one of the things that they cut out, we were lamenting the loss of homeopathy, because Guru Har Rai Sahib was a master homeopathist, right? And we've kind of, his level of homeopathy was, he's healed kings, and there's a story about that as well.
They cut that out, really?
They cut out homeopathy, they cut out the Nihangs, they cut out the Nirmale, and they cut out the Udasis. The Udasis and the Nirmales, especially the Udasis, were the ones they needed to cut out the most.
But
The Singh Sabha movement, which eventually becomes the bedrock of the SGPC, the Modern Gurdwara Committee, they cut out the yoga because
I don't speak English, and then me pierdo cosas, ¿no?
Sí, lo que él estaba diciendo es que...
Sorry, I'm hard-headed.
Satnam.
Satnam.
Lo que él estaba diciendo, está hablando de una época en el periodo de la India que estaban atacando mucho a los Sikhs, eso sí entendiste. Entonces se creó un movimiento, el Singh Sabha Movement, que era como para reempoderar a los Sikhs, pero en realidad causó mucho daño. Porque para empezar dijeron, esto es Sikh, esto no es Sikh, que es mucho, y lo volvieron algo muy rígido. Es lo que le está diciendo.
¿Están hablando ahora más adelante?
No, seguía hablando de eso, de cómo excomunicaron a los Nirmalas, a los Udasis.
Yes.
Es ese mismo periodo. Es en esa época.
And they were so concerned with what Sikhs aren't.
Yeah.
And this is also traced back to the trauma of the British Empire and the way they
but the interesting thing is, if you study world history, everyone was doing that. Like, everything in the whole world, you see things of trying to unify, but unification didn't mean accept everybody. Unification mean you either adapt to us or we you're out.
Yeah,
and you see it in
eugenics. You see it in Nazi theory.
Well, but everywhere in the world they were doing that. Even in Mexico, there was a thing called Alfabeto Pan y Jabón, which had some good things. It was like let's make everybody be literate. Let's make everybody have hygiene, but then it was cultural control. That's when a lot of the native languages were lost because they were trying to unify in the wrong way. Yeah.
So they did in the medical profession. They took everything out of it. That was, you know.
So Gyani Did Singh and Professor Gurmukh Singh, who were the spearheads of this movement, were schooled in British schools, and the translation that they bought is a very Protestant translation of the first translation of Guru Granth Sahib Ji into another language was German by a Catholic. It's awful translation. Oh, it's so bad. But the translation that we use today is based on the translation from the Sikh Sabha movement, which is a very Christian, dualistic.
Yeah.
Well, God is this evil, like even using heaven and hell, like those concepts don't even exist. Even the concept of God doesn't exist in the way that we discuss it in the language. Like our whole language, our discussion around it is contorted. And the irony of it is that we here at Solstice are using the Sikh Sabha translation, the very translation that, you know, started the kind of separation from that yogic tradition.
And you know, it's interesting because the Siri Singh Sahib with that, he has this lecture that is very well circulated, and we played at Gurdwara often, and he says, he calls it the Dharma within the Dharma. He was saying he didn't create a new religion. He was making a commentary on how to go from just being a religious person to really going to the essence.
Which is what we're all hungry for. That's all we want,
So I would like to comment, in addition to all of the negatives about the Singh Sabha movement, it was also a very essential part of Sikh history. It was absolutely necessary for it to happen and for it to come about for reasons that had to do with the oppression from the British Empire. And the Sikh Dharma would not be what it is today were it not for the Singh Sabha movement. So it's an ultimate paradoxical.
It was a mixed blessing. Yeah, a mixed thing, definitely.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
But it's time now that, I mean, I feel that I hear from so many people, you know, it's like when we read the translations, like sometimes I used to, you know, read the translations at the Gurdwara in Denver, but I know it's like it's not correct, you know, and it's like I feel, gosh, I want to be able to understand, you know, what it's really saying, and I feel like, okay, I don't know, it's like, to me it's like poetry and it's like imagery even, and I don't know if I'm right, but it's like, how do you translate that? But it's like, it's time for us to finally, you know, give it justice, because we hear what you say. So many of us know this, and we're going like, well, what are we doing? Why are we still, you know, still following this?
But how many? How many
times? The translation, the Mexican translation of the Hukum on the first day, they told me it was totally different than what it was in English.
They did.
Oh, really?
You know? So it's like, okay, well, what?
Yeah. But how many times, I mean, Manmohan, with all the words that we couldn't understand, the antiquated and the Christian, how many times did your heart get pierced? See, that when you have that experience, it doesn't matter what the words are.
It's still a proxy. It's still like a proxy. Like, it's still amazing.
It's when you get to that place, you go, oh my God, I'm having an experience. It's not about the words. It's not about what it means. It's like, oh, I recognize that in myself.
Yeah.
So anything works.
But
really, because it's all grace anyway.
The point I'm trying to make is there is this kind of judgmental, dualistic layer on top of the translations.
Yeah.
And you just accept, even if you didn't use the translations, and let's just say you got to the level where you could understand. I've noticed my understanding changes all the time as you evolve, because Gurbani is infinite.
Because it's working.
It's working. So
and it's
you know.
changing you.
If an atheist and if Gurbani is serving an atheist, or the Sikh way of life is serving, then they don't have to have God.
It's not a rational thing. It's not a logical thing. It's a, experiential thing.
Can I say something?
Hanji,
also,
sorry.
there's like no recipe, because also remember being with Siri Singh Sahib at Winter Solstice, and there was a guy and he was arguing with Siri Singh Sahib about God, like saying there is no God. So Siri Singh Sahib said, "Okay, hold your breath." And the guy held his breath, and then he exhaled, and he was like, "Okay, your name is Kartar. There's a doer."
Oh, wow.
And what's the first thing you do? And you're holding your breath. Oh my God! Oh. Right?
Well, first thing, baby. It's like it takes a breath and then it cries or something.
Yeah, but
Yeah. I think that's something that's very important, that there is no one way of being a Sikh. There is that's why I was saying at the beginning, it really is your own relationship with the Guru when it comes down to it. But even historically, there were the Nirmalas, which were Gyanis. No? They were there to study the Vedas, to really distill the Upanishads and teach it to people. There were the Udasis, which were more renunciates. There were the Sevapantis, that all they did was... But then there was this other group, which was the ones that they weren't really as committed in a way, but in another way, some of them might have been, and they were just regular people who related to the Guru. And that's also okay, and I really like that. And I think somebody told me about this quote, and I don't know exactly where it is, but it's Guru Gobind Singh, who said, "My head belongs to those people." Because there's some Sikhs who say, well, if you're not a Mirdari or you don't have your hair, then, no, the Guru doesn't like you. But there's this quote where it's like, no, that's not what it's about.
There's so much that is so not Guru Nanak that I find things that happen, and it's like, wait, remember what Guru Nanak said. You're forgetting about it.
We've gotten as ritualistic as he just said.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because you need to go to the wholeness, and Guru Nanak kind of gave the wholeness. Even just the Mool Mantra itself is, you need to remember the whole, because when you interpret, how do you call it? You dissect, and then you only see this little thing. You can see, there's one where he's saying those foolish people are inhaling through the left and exhaling through the right, and they're just deluded themselves. Oh, we should not do that. Well, no, do you see this other part in the Guru where I inhale through the left, exhale through the right, chant God's name within me, and I reach. So it's well, that's not what it's about. Don't dissect. Go from the wholeness and understand how it trickles down, rather than being a form that criticizes everything except.
As we said, we're such critics of the Siri Gurprasad, and what they're saying and how we interpret it, and also every person at their own level. We're all gonna understand the Guru in our own way, and what we've learned, what we've gone through, and hopefully the more we read and learn from others and listen to what others have to say, the more it becomes clearer and bigger and wider and more expansive. But you start you start here I didn't know anything, I had to learn, and I keep learning, and I love it,
So the line in Chaupe Sahib, aap apni buddh hai jeti. So according to one's intellect, barnat pen toiteti, you describe and understand the Guru differently according to everyone's stage, and that's the beauty of it. And we've got to, and it's so hard, because as human beings, our brains work by patterns. So naturally, we want to put a pattern, and want to put things in boxes and categorize them, and this is good and this is not good, and we've got to kind of fight that instinct, and that takes a lot of training and a lot of compassion. And these are the things we've got to cultivate in ourselves, right? So that we don't become judgmental. Oh, you should have seen my first solstice, man. You should have seen my inner turmoil. I'm walking around, oh my God, they're reading Gurbani wrong. Oh my God, they're dancing. Oh my God, what are they doing? Oh my God. I really, really struggled. I really did, I'll be honest with you. I had a really tough time. And then someone just coincidentally told me a story. It's about Ikonkar course. She was teaching a Jap Sahib course. So it wasn't Ikonkar telling me the story, someone telling me the story about Ikonkar. She was teaching a Jap Sahib course and had a bunch of yogis in it, and they weren't taking it seriously, and she's trying to do what she's doing, take people on a journey with Jap Sahib. And apparently she said to the Siri Singh Sahib, I want to chuck these people out. And the Siri Singh Sahib said, no, you don't know who they're going to be in their next life. And that's when the penny dropped. I thought, oh shit, sorry.
It's a word.
okay, I've been given some gifts in this life, but I don't know what kind of, Tarsa pe aa meher rahmat hui. The Guru saw me. It wasn't because of my good fortune. I think that's a lie. I think the Guru's telling me a lie. Oh, you've got great good fortune. It makes no sense. I've not done anything worthy of these gifts in a previous life. It's impossible if you work out the math. Right? It's not like, what did I save 1 million penguins or something from? Like what did I do in a previous life to even deserve this? And the only rational answer I've got is Tarsa pe aa mein rahmat hui. Satgur sajan milya. The Guru took pity on me and gave me himself. And then that it all clicked, and I was like, oh man. And then I just started punching myself mentally and saying, look, don't be judgmental. And then as soon as I let all that crap go, oh my, all that nonsense and judgment, then it's like, oh, I could start to see, and the scales fell away from my eyes. And it's my 15th solstice now.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have a question?
Waheguru. I'm Deepak Singh from East London. It's my first solstice. Sorry, Paji, your name?
Put it.
Sorry?
Your name is?
Siri Chansing.
Sukhchan Singh.
Siri Chansing.
Siri Sukhchan Singh.
Siri Chand.
Siri.
Baba Siri Chand.
Siri Chand Singh, yeah. Chand's my surname.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
But from my experience as well, you should focus on your inner experience and your inner connection with your Guru. I come from probably, you can say, a community and a culture where it's always about external.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And focus on your internal relationship with your Guru. Build on that. Your Naam Simran, your Bani, your Sangat, your Red. And let your Guru be your decider. But what you'll find is, once you start building up that connection, you'll start building up your Ananda as well. And we've seen, I've personally seen life, like transformations. And again, you don't know what one's done in the previous Kadam as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely something which definitely needs to be preached on a wider scale globally, whereas the focus is beyond your internal relationship with your Guru, and that internal relationship will help out your external relationship as well.
Yeah, Waheguru.
Definitely.
Yes.
You were both having a conversation. I would like to hear more about that regarding.
That's off topic, though.
Well, no, it's a question. It's any question, right?
But I could actually, we were talking about the. We'll do it after the lesson maybe. But we were talking about the. It started about freedom and sort of the American concept of freedom, and I was positing that. I don't think I think American society is one of the least free societies in the world.
Yeah.
But they talk a lot about freedom, and I think the ideal is noble to strive for. But we were kind of getting like how the narrative has been twisted, and we've been mentally trapped to behave and think in a certain way, just to distract us from the fact that you're not as free as we'd like to be, right? And I think all societies with any sort of that's a natural trap, but you just see it's very extreme in America.
It is super,
because all the talk and narrative is about freedom, yet all the actions, when they say, oh, look at what someone does, not what they say.
Yeah.
And when you start to look at what America does to itself and to the world, and it's like, well, it doesn't fit in with the external projection. But that's what we were talking about. But the one can I tell them the story about Guru Nanak Dev Ji in Mecca?
Please.
So there's many layers to this. I'm going to give you a simplified version of this. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji visits Mecca, and we've got Tajuddin. So Tajuddin is a Sikh, I suppose, that Guru Nanak Dev Ji met. He met Guru Nanak Dev Ji in Iraq, and so it's from his diary, and it's available in English now. I can share the PDF with anyone if they want it. It's blown my mind, right? It's blown my mind. So many stories from there, but this is one of them. In that when he goes to Mecca, Guru Nanak Dev Ji doesn't point his feet to the Kaaba. He puts his feet on the Kaaba. So if you've been and this is the Kaaba is in the center, and he's resting with his feet on. It wasn't as locked down as it is now. He rests with his feet on the Kaaba, and everyone obviously is very enraged by this. And a whole group comes towards him, led by Qazi Rukunuddin, who's the head Qazi of Islam, right? Of the head Granthi, right? The head Qazi of Mecca. And the whole discussion and Guru Nanak Dev Ji greets them and says, Sat Sri Akal, Gurbar Akal. Right, so this is primary source that we've got. He says that. So that was the greeting he used with them. And they're really confused by this, and they stop and they freeze in their tracks, so they can't move. And then they're questioning, why are you doing this? Putting your feet towards God. And, the whole conversation, the part of the story most people know, point my feet to where God is.
Because she might not know it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
This is a great story. It's my favorite story.
Sat Siri Akal, Gurbar Akal. That was the greeting.
Would you like to translate it for the crowd? Yeah.
From Jab Sahib? Gurbar Akal is God is powerful and strong. Yeah, the most powerful and strong. But it's interesting because, we've used Fateh a lot now, and this community uses Satnam a lot now. But in those days, Sat Kartar, in the time of Guru Nanak, from all the primary sources, it was Sat Sri Akal and Sat Kartar. Those are two primary greetings that people used. Sat Kartar all the time. You got whole Muslim villages doing jap of Sat Kartar, Sat Kartar, Sat Kartar, Sat Kartar. And there's a story about Salima. So we have a story about it.
Let's return to the.
Okay, so they say the Muslims are very angered, rightly so. So why are you putting your feet, and why are you playing music? Because he was doing kirtan as well. Right? Why are you playing music? Music's not allowed. And they said, and Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, point my feet to where God is not. And so they forcefully drag Guru Nanak Dev Ji around, and wherever they drag him, the Kaaba follows. And there's lots of witnesses of this. And so there's lots of primary sources seen that happen. And the head Qazi, eventually they enter in dialogue with Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and Guru Nanak Dev Ji does kirtan there for 3 days. And Qazi Rukunuddin falls in love with Guru Nanak and becomes, I'm just yours, you are Allah to me. And it's interesting, a lot of the preaching that Guru Nanak Dev Ji does is in relation to Islam, so he'll, quote, he speaks in Arabic, fluent Arabic, and he quotes the Quran, and he challenges the hypocrisy and things that they're doing and saying, you need to tune in with this. So they're still Muslim, they haven't given up Islam. But eventually, Guru Nanak Dev Ji leaves, and then Qazi Rukunuddin is challenged. Give up this kufr, this unbeliever, otherwise it's death. If you leave Islam, especially the head, right, it's death for you. Apostasy. And he refused. So they dug him in a pit, and they stoned him to death.
Oh, wow.
And while he was doing Sat Kartar, Sat Kartar, Sat Kartar, while he's being stoned to death. And he's the first martyr of the Sikh faith as a Muslim. Not because we think of Guru Arjan Dev Ji, and there's a story of another Sikh, and I can't remember that, but is actually the first martyr of the Sikh faith was a Muslim man.
Wow, I didn't know that part.
I didn't know until last month. Yeah, I just knew the simplified version, right? The kiddies version. I didn't know any of the nuance of the detail, and there's a lot more detail.
There's a story that I heard from, this elder Sikh man this elder Sikh man that lived in the same village where the Sri Singh Sahib was, and he told this story that back then, and that was like before 1947, right before the partition and everything, and in this small little town there was a building, and in this one building there's a Hindu temple, a Sikh Gurdwara, and a Muslim mosque, right together, all in a row. And everybody just went to their respective places.
So Maharaja Ranjit Singh would fund mosque building and mandir building in his kingdom, the biggest kingdom,
He would
fund mosque building. Yeah, he would fund.
Yeah.
He would pay. The only stipulation he had was that you have to have a school.
Had to have what?
A school. Okay. Punjab was the most educated state in all of India at that time. And this is one of the first things the British take out, burn the books, and create this division, create this definition. You are a Muslim, you are a Hindu. Like create these hardened definitions, calcified definitions, as they say. But that's been going on, supporting, that kind of relationship with Islam. Like even our turban style, this turban style is Islamic. Our building styles, the bunga at the top, that's Islamic influence. Rag Tilang from Guru Granth Sahib is and Yak Az Guftum Pes To Dard is Farsi Bani. Guru Gobind Singh Ji himself composed in Persian. So I learnt Persian, well, I've forgotten it all now, but I learnt Persian just because I wanted to read Zafarnama in Persian. Because if you read it in Gurmukhi, it's transliterated from Persian to Gurmukhi. So if you read Zafarnama in Gurmukhi, you're not reading it right. Because you don't have the phonemes. You have to learn Farsi to be able to read it. You know, like transliterate Gurmukhi into Roman. And so Guru Gobind Singh Ji was, and Guru Nanak Dev Ji, masters of Farsi and Persian. So that we have these, that's why I'm fascinated by Islam. He spoke Urdu. But the script is the same. So there's about 8 letters that are different. But the script is base Arabic script.
Yeah, because
which is actually different than the Persian script.
So this okay, this was really interesting. That entire generation at school were not taught Gurmukhi. Right? This is a Singh Sabha thing. They were taught, the language at the time would have been Shamukhi, or if they're in the south, they'd have learnt script, so Urdu script. And that would have been the medium. The Arabic script is known as Shamukhi.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to learn Gurbani, you had to go to the Gurdwara, to these schools. And it's always been like that. So you went for your spiritual lessons to the Gurdwara to learn to read Gurmukhi. It wasn't taught to you at school. So Gurmukhi was always a spiritual language. And then, rightly or wrongly, you know, again, it's like there's pros and cons to this. And don't quote me on the date, but and I think it's in the 30s, in the Punjabi Subha movement, which is like a political movement for Punjabi identity, again, is in the background of an existential crisis. They said, in Punjab, we're going to adopt the Gurmukhi script to write Punjabi in. Because prior to that, if you wrote Punjabi, you wrote it in Shamukhi, not in Gurmukhi. So then, Gurmukhi is now taught in schools. And so it's no longer, the Gurmukhi script is used with the Punjabi language. And it's no longer this script that's preserved just for the realm of the spiritual. It also becomes the realm of the worldly.
Yeah.
And so now there's this misnomer that if you can read Punjabi, you can read Gurbani. You can read the letters, you won't understand the words, and you won't have all the phonemes as well. Like when I was learning Gurbani, some of the Punjabi aunties, they have a lot of the phonemes already, but there's some of the more advanced ones, they couldn't do it.
My first teacher, actually, I asked for the other ends.
That's what you have to get. You have to study to get the. Because I know.
No, teaching it. It's not so much that the Shamukhi. It's more that the flip that happened in the 30s, around the time of the Siri Singh Sahib, just after. So that Punjabi being adopted, Gurmukhi being adopted to teach the Punjabi language, happened around that time, and so. The shift is that Gurmukhi is no longer just a spiritual script, and you go and it's the realms of, and it's this beautiful spiritual thing. It becomes more of a worldly thing, and so it kind of loses a certain, stature in our society. And then a lot of people I can read Punjabi, I can read Gurbani, and it's like you're still doing it wrong. You're still not. And to learn that, you went to the Gurdwara, you learned the etiquette. You learned the stories behind it. All of that was taught in a spiritual setting, much like this. So that's kind of been lost. And,
It was always strange to me that I would see the Punjabi saying, I don't understand.
Exactly.
Gurmukhi, and I was like, wow.
Less than I'd say about 5% of Gurbani is in Punjabi.
I don't understand it, but it was strange for me because it's the same letter.
The script is the same, right? But it's like French and English, right? Yeah. So if I was, it's the same letters, right? And Spanish, right? So if I didn't know any different, I'd say, they're the same language. But the letters are the same. I could read it. My accent would be wrong.
And then there's a lot of letters that are not used in Punjabi, or at least not so much.
Oh, percha, haha, and like percha, dada, like all these words. And so it becomes, so I think we lost something in that transition. But less than 5% of Guru Granth Sahib Ji is in Punjabi. Like Japji Sahib is in Brij Bhasha, which we don't know anymore. Everyone used to know Brij Bhasha. If you wanted to learn Gurbani first, the first thing they teach you Brij Bhasha and Sanskrit. right? And Farsi. You had to learn these languages first before you even go near Guru Granth Sahib Ji, right? And then spend like this entire discipline to learning Gurbani, you know, and just increase. Imagine the intelligence he'd have to have. And that was Punjab at that time, in the time of Maharaj Ranjit Singh.
The Latin out of the Mass.
Yeah, exactly. I did Latin at school, right? So it's like so interesting. Like I have this kind of, I could pick up new languages really easily.
Do you think we should create a whole system or school, and I don't know how the word right now, but okay, I would love to be able to read from the City Guru Granth Sahib and understand what I'm reading, but I feel frustrated that nobody can help me. Nobody's there to say, okay, what's the method? It's like I feel like something has to be created to make us be able to understand these beautiful words, you know. It's really important because
Mera man loche gur darshan. Darshan is not to see something. Darshan is to understand.
Experience it.
You know, we translate darshan tahi, right? As in, I want to see my guru. No. I want to see my guru, right? I want to understand. I want to feel my guru. Mera man loche gur darshan tahi. What you're feeling right now is that feeling. Mera man loche gur darshan, to know my guru. You remember we started with that prayer, like what's the one prayer? To know my guru, right? It's like that's what you're feeling right now.
like that's my first thing. It's like I went to the Gurdwara and I sat there and I always say to Shabbat Guru, that brought me to the feet of the Guru. I didn't understand it. I didn't, but it was like the vibration, the you know, that essence, that something that just reaches your soul. But now it's like I'm blessed to have that. I'm blessed to like listen to Gurbani, not understand it, and then just cry because it just reaches my soul at another level. But it's like now it's like I want to be able to read it and really understand what it's saying in its poetry. I don't know if others, but I wish somebody would teach me there, but I don't know how.
An organisation, and he's a Guru Sikh from UK Leeds, by Gurprasad Singh, and he's translated the Guru Granth Sahib Ji by Gurprasad Singh from an organisation Seek to Inspire, and he's translated the Guru Granth Sahib Ji puri by puri, and it's all in English. It's in SoundCloud as well, so you can maybe download the link, and it goes verse by verse, and everything's in English. And you know, maybe you want to learn Santhya. You know, maybe Baji can direct you in the right way. There's a lot of organisations that do Santhya online, and that's to accommodate those who can't get to the Gurdwara. You know, I know a Russian teacher, a Punjabi Russian teacher who teaches people globally. He's part of Nahang Santhya. I'm not too sure his name.
Oh, his name? No, I don't.
Yeah, and he teaches people globally. So maybe I can, you know, find the link on SoundCloud, Seek to Inspire Guru Granth Sahib Ji Katha, and that could be a starting point.
¿Podrías traducir? Please.
¿Qué parte?
No, y que quiero decirle a ella. No.
Ok, ya te entendí, sí.
Que actualmente cualquier persona puede ir al Dam Dami Taksal School. Hay un sector para mujeres. Puedes vivir ahí y aprender.
And learn.
Dam Dami Taksal School es la escuela que creó, es el ashram que dejó.
So why don't we bring why don't we bring a teacher here?
Yeah.
Why don't we bring a teacher here next year?
So I have a question. So
Sí.
Sorry, because I think you know what it is. Dam Dami Taksal School. It's an it's an ashram in India that Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, él dejó esto, para que aprendamos Gurbani, para que la pronunciación, ¿tú me entiendes?, sea perfecta. Y cualquier persona puede ir, de cualquier edad. Y hay un sector para mujeres. ¿Qué mejor que estar ahí? ¿No? Digo. ¿No? en India. Está en las afueras de Amritsar, ¿no?
When we went to Dam Dam and we had to write the alphabet, and I said that's where they go, and you can go there and study. And
I mean, that's right. I started teaching. It was called a Punjabi class. I started teaching because I figured, okay, I'm going to learn some words, and but then they only had Punjabi words, and so I said, no, I got to include some Gurmukhi words from the Guru for the kids.
Yeah, no. The Punjabi. See, like learning Punjabi is useful because you can, from the perspective that there's some literature and you can converse with people that have a deep connection with Gurbani. So learning Punjabi is useful from that perspective, but from learning Gurbani, it's not actually that helpful. Like learning, if you want to learn Gurbani, we're better off learning Sanskrit and Bridge. Like that will break, and Farsi, that jumps so many more gaps. And then by nature, they're more spiritual languages, whereas Punjabi is a bit more of a sort of worldly language. But we don't do that anymore. Like I'm desperate for a Bridge Bhasha t-shirt because I want to have a deeper understanding of Japji Sahib. So I'm feeling what you're feeling, and I want to really go deep on the Japji Sahib. But I only think like I need to learn, like I'm just intuitively, I think I need to learn Bridge, even just a little bit to understand that. But what we can do, let's put a syllabus together. I can see if I can. I mean, I had Santya from Sattogali Taksal. So there's Dumdumi Taksal and Sattogali Taksal. My sister had Santya from Dumdumi Taksal, and I had it from the opposing one, which is Sattogali. So by Mani Singh and by Baba Deep Singh, were both students of. They scribed Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and then they both created their own schools. And they're not the only schools. There's lots of other schools as well. Those two are the most famous ones. I have been thinking about this for years, like who can I bring as a deep expert? Now I know if you like Sikh Singh is one, right? So Dumdumi Taksal is like in India, but it's in England as well. No. It's like really, it's really big in England. But my challenge, right, in openly honestly, is can I find someone that's gonna be comfortable at solstice? And understand.
I have a teacher. He teaches in Dandami Taksal school for 15 years, and he's teaching me and my daughter in Uruguay, and he speaks English, and I don't know, 1 year to learn the Japji Sahib. Not only pronunciation, what do you want, meaning, and I can give you the number of. Yes, he's Ustad Guru Sevakji. Yes.
Sadasat Simran and Jagat have teachers that they can refer to.
So that's very good.
Maybe what we do is set up another. Maybe it's not at Summer Solstice.
Yeah, it needs to be deeper than that.
I think between us, there's enough people here that have a superficial enough level of knowledge to get us to the next level. The deeper level. We need to build some bridges and get some people over here and create some more connections, like Benji's teacher, and more teachers the better, right? So, but I think like Jagat Guru's, so that's like Gurmukhi is like on point, really, really good, like probably the best here. So he should be teaching more.
Studying Santya.
Yeah, doing Santya. You can tell like the way he does in Maharni, he's had tuition, and the way they read Gurbani, but just like. The Bisram as well, so you kind of develop this intuition as to where to pause. Yes. So, Gur Isar, Gur Gorakh, Burma Gur. Gur Isar, Gur Gorakh, Burma Gur, Parbati Mai. The Guru is Isar, the Guru is Shiva, Guru is Gorakh, Vishnu, Brahma is also the Guru, but Parbati, creation, is the mother.
Yeah.
But the way we read it is Gur Isar, Gur Gorakh. Can you read it? Like, I can't. The normal way from Japji Sahib. Gur Isar, Gur Gorakh.
Burma Guru Parbati hoy.
We say Gur Parbati Mai. The Guru is Parbati, the mother. Ishar and Brahma are the Gurus, and creation is our mother. But it's where you put the pause. Gur Isar, Gur Gorakh, Burma Gur, Parbati Mai. Je ho jana, akha nahi, kehna kathan na jai. What can I even say, right, about this? Gura ik de bujai. Just give me this one understanding. Sabna jiyan ka ik data. the creator of this everything. Somme visarna. I just ask this one thing that I never forget them. Sabna jiyan ka ek data. Somme visarna jai. It's where you put the pause, and that changes the balance and the flow of the Gurbani, and then that helps with the intuition and the reading of it as well. That's because it changes the structure of the Naad, like the flow of the Naad, not structure.
A good Sikh in Denver, and I was saying, can you help me to read, because I don't know where I'm supposed to pause, because there's no commas, right?
Oh, that one I can fix for you right now. Right now. There you go.
I don't know how to read. It's like, I was like, when am I? Yes.
Phrasing is everything. Music, language.
But and also, can I interrupt real quick? If you take a step back, you can get so technical and so dry about it.
So I just want...
Can I finish?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I never talk and then I interrupt. That's so stupid, isn't it?
So here's instead of saying a whole philosophical thing, my experience, before I actually knew Gurmukhi, I did the Rehman Shabbat, probably mispronouncing everything, probably not going in the right way or anything. And I reached the highest state of Samadhi I've reached till today. I've never reached it as high as then. All this, when I actually learned to read the Guru, I did notice a difference and there was more subtlety. But I also noticed when I focus too much on what's the right, it makes it so dry and it takes away the Samadhi, it takes away anything like that. You really need to go by your heart, not by your head. And with that, even the stupidest person who has no clue about anything is completely empowered.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree. It's like another level.
Well, it is, but in another way, why do you feel incomplete without that other level? Because you have everything you need in this level. I think that's what Gurprasad.
No, I disagree with that. I think there are multiple levels, and so I really like your message in that actually, because the knowledge can become a trap, and it inflates the ego, and it's a trap.
And it feels like that right now. That's why I understand what you're saying, but it feels that it's a trap at this point.
It's
where instead of making you grow, it's making you feel like you have a lack or something, and I really think that's what needs to be addressed more. And you're right. I'm not against what you're saying.
I get what you mean. Yeah, you don't want to feel like you're lacking something, but at the same time, taking it to a deeper level of understanding could enhance your relationship. But it's also, as Baji said, it can also be a poison pill, right? And I've been there. Like around the Kirtan, I used to do this a lot. Right? I used to learn a specific style, and then I got quite. Oh, that's not Kirtan, this is Kirtan. I got into that horrible ego place. And this knowledge that I was gathering was actually poisonous to me. And I had to go back to the simplest Kirtan, slap myself and learn to appreciate that and see the beauty in that. Right? I've been down this trap, and it's a trap, it's a good warning to put there. But there's all these gifts are available to us. And if you want them, they're there. And if you don't need them, like Shadju, just like Guru Har Krishan Sahib just touched, the deaf-mute person, and they became enlightened. Absolutely, it doesn't. Tu jana hi soi jan jane. If the Guru wants you to know, you could be the most random person sitting in Timbuktu, and then the Guru activates you just like that, and then, and with no knowledge, no big turban, no beard, you just that connection with Guru, and these are more valid.
And we're going to wrap it up with Gurprasad Kaur.
Hanji.
No,
just seal it off for us.
No, I just remember the story my brother used to tell, and he used to sit and cry, just like you. He had so much heart, and he showed up at Sadhana one morning when he lived in Eugene, and he was the only person there, and this guy came in. He was brand new, dressed kind of in street clothes, just kind of a ordinary guy, and they did Japji together, and he said he said he massacred every single word. I mean, he couldn't pronounce anything correctly. And my brother said it was the most beautiful recitation of Japji, and it would make him cry because the guy just had so much heart. It's like he just wanted it so badly. And that's what we're all, beginner's mind. We just want to be in that place where, and then I was going to go back to my own experience. My very first experience with the Sri Guru Granth Sahib was in Spanish. And I didn't even speak Spanish very well then. I lived in Mexico. And Babaji, our mutual teacher, had just finished translating only the first volume of the Siri Guru Granth Sahib, and we had this little mini compat, and I'll never ever forget sitting in the middle of the night, and I wanted to learn, I wanted to know Spanish, and I didn't, but I'm reading it in Spanish, and then the Guru spoke to me. You know, it's like the Guru speaks to you. It doesn't matter what language you're speaking or anything. Your heart opens, and I was like, okay, I don't think I can live without this, and that was the moment, you know. And then Babaji said to me, okay, then he said, you're putting on a turban, you're making a commitment, because that was the way he taught, you know. But I'm so grateful to him because, you know, in that moment, he saw there was an opening, and then he took it, and that's why he was such a great teacher, because he saw that. It was and there's the intersection of the form and the formless, because I needed that in my life, and he recognized that, but it was only because I was
at the right time, that he could say that.
That's
absolutely.
Why
Well, thank you all.